welcome back to Tales of Olympus, the podcast where we dive into the wildest, most dramatic, and sometimes just downright unbelievable stories from Greek mythology and Percy Jackson. And as always, I am Ariel I Gal, your guide through all the godly gossip, legendary love stories, and of course, epic adventures. And if you're new here, welcome. You just joined a community of mythology fans who love hearing these stories told in a fun and modern way. Make sure you check out some of our past episodes because trust me, the gods, they've got so much tea to spill. And today's episode isn't just any tale, it's the grand finale of season 2. But don't worry, I'll keep updating next week. And my summer vacation is almost over. Like I have like 2 days left, so let's make the most of it. So, anyways, we've come a long way from the birth of Aphrodite to the chaos of Eros and Psyche, and from Athena's wisdom to Hades' shadows. But now we end with fire, with rebellion, with a titan who dare to love humans more than Olympus. Today, I will be retelling the story of Prometheus, the titan who defied the king of the gods, not for power, not for revenge, unlike most stories, but it was for us, humankind. And this is his flame. Let's start the story then. So, long ago, before Zeus ruled the skies, before Poseidon ruled the waves, before mortals carved temples or wrote myths, there was only chaos. From chaos came Gaia, the earth, and from her came Uranus, the sky. And today, and no, not today, they birthed the first generation of titans. So now we retell this story. This is just like a quick recap for those that didn't listen to the episode that I was talking about this very detailed. So, yeah, this is a quick recap, and make sure to check out our first 2 episodes, The Origin of the Gods, Part 1 and Part 2. It's in Season 1. Yeah, and as I said, these titans, they were massive, ancient, and also elemental. But among them, one stood apart, and not for strength, but for wisdom. He was Prometheus. His name in Greek literally means forethought, the one who thinks ahead. While the other titans smashed mountains or hurled fire, Prometheus was only watching, listening, and he was also planning. And when the titans fell, overthrown by Zeus and his Olympian siblings, Prometheus made a choice. He didn't fight. He joined the Olympians because he saw the future. And don't think for a second that Zeus trusted him. Well, not to be exact, Zeus did never trust him at the start, but then they became friends. And so they were like close friends, like Zeus and Prometheus. Wow. Somebody shipped them together. Well, I mean, Zeus was still a little bit suspicious of clever minds, and Prometheus was the cleverest. So, there's the bonding thing and the suspicious thing. So, still for a while, things were peaceful. Like, the Olympians built palaces in the clouds, and the earth bloomed with life. And then, one day, Zeus and Prometheus decided that they would create us, humankind. And so Zeus sent Prometheus to create some dolls out of clay. And Prometheus made all of us out of clay. And then Zeus, after Prometheus was done with the clay, Zeus sent Athena to breathe life into us. And then we were weak when we was born. Well, not exactly born. You would say made out of clay. But we had no fur, no claws, no wings, no fangs, just soft skin and a fragile heart, and a brain that could wander. And Prometheus, he saw potential. Yeah, very dramatic. Yeah. And he watched as we shivered in the cold. Excuse me, sorry. A raw meat cowered in the dark. Well, we couldn't speak or defend ourselves. And so, he asked Zeus. And Zeus, even laughed. He said, "Let them die," he said. "Let the beasts rule the earth. It's only nature." But Prometheus said no. He knelt beside the first mortal child. He taught us how to speak. He gave them shapes for letters carved into the dirt. He showed us how to build, how to hunt, how to survive. But still, it wasn't enough. Humans were clever, yes, but cold, hungry, and afraid. And Prometheus did the one thing that changed everything, breaking him and Zeus's friendship forever. The one thing Zeus prohibited Prometheus could never do. He gave us fire. He climbed Mount Olympus, past the gates, past the halls, and there, glowing in the hearth of Hestia, was the sacred fire, the fire of the gods. It belonged only to Zeus. It had never touched mortal hands. It wasn't just heat, it was knowledge, invention, power, creation. And Prometheus reached out, and he stole it, and he brought it to Earth. And just like that, humans lit their first fire, cooked their first meal, forged their first tools, painted on cave walls, sang songs to the stars. They weren't just surviving, they were dreaming, creating, becoming. Prometheus gave them hope. But Zeus saw the firelight from Olympus, and his heart turned to stone. Prometheus had betrayed him. He had defied Olympus. Zeus didn't just want revenge. He wanted a warning, a punishment that would echo forever. So he made a plan so cruel, even the gods whispered about it. Prometheus was captured, dragged in chains to the ends of the earth. There, on a jagged cliff in the Caucasus Mountains. I think it's pronounced Caucasus. There's very much different pronunciations, so forgive me if there's anything wrong. So, anyways, he was taken to the mountains and he was bound to the rocks, arms stretched, unmoving, immortal, forever. And you would think that was painful enough, like you couldn't even move. But there was something even more cruel. So every morning, an eagle would come, its wings thundered like storms. Its beak tore into his side and it devoured his liver, piece by piece. Since he was immortal, the liver grew back and the pain returned forever. Prometheus never screamed. He never begged. He watched the sun rise each day, watched the humans gather by fire, watched them live. And he smiled because they were worth it, because he loved them. And so Prometheus lay on the rock for eternal life. Well, not just eternal. Later, Heracles, most of you know him as Hercules, came then rescued him. And you can listen to our Heracles part 1, part 2, part 3, and it gives the detailed stories of Heracles' 12 labors. Really cool. Go check that out. And either way, let's continue to the next part of the story. But before that, let's do a little break and we'll be back on the other side with more tales. So now we're back. And you would think that Zeus was done. Like, wow, liver eating. Oh my, no, oh no. The chains on the mountain weren't enough. The eagle was only the beginning. Because when Prometheus gave fire to humanity, he didn't just make Zeus angry, he made Zeus scared. What happens when mortals stop obeying the gods? What happens when they start thinking for themselves? Zeus didn't want answers. He wanted control. And so he came up with something beautiful, a gift, or so it seemed. Her name was Pandora, the first mortal woman, crafted by the gods like a masterpiece. Hephaestus molded her from earth and water. Aphrodite gave her beauty. Hermes gave her charm, a clever, clever tongue. And Athena taught her how to weave and sing. And Zeus gave her something no one could resist, curiosity. Then he gave her to Prometheus's brother, Epimetheus, whose name, by the way, means afterthought. So he was practically the opposite of Prometheus. Not exactly the smart one in the family, you know. Now listen. Prometheus has warned his brother 100 times. Don't trust Zeus. Don't accept gifts from the sky, especially not the pretty ones. But did Epimetheus listen? Of course not. Cue a upside down smiley face emoji. Well, he fell in love, married her, and forgot all of Prometheus's warnings. At the wedding, Pandora was handed a box, beautiful, light gilded, covered in symbols no mortal could read. And Zeus said one thing: never open it. Yeah, because that always works. At first, Pandora obeyed. She kept the box hidden, and every day the voice inside her grew louder. What could it be? What could be in it? Jewels? Ambrosia? Wisdom? She tried not to think, not to look, but that curiosity, that gift from the gods, burned hotter than the fire. Until one day she unlatched it, and the world changed. Out flew plague, out flew pain, jealousy, grief, sickness, lies, war, greed, and death. A storm of shadows, all of them screaming, clawing into the world. Pandora slammed the lid shut. But it was too late. The world would never be the same. She collapsed, trembling. Tears ran down her face. But then she heard a sound, a flutter, a breath. One thing that was still inside the box. And when she opened it just a crack, out flew hope. The smallest thing in the box. The last thing Zeus expected to not escape. But it stayed in the box. And as long as hope was in the box, humanity would still have hope. and it settled in the hearts of the mortals, burned in their stories, flickered in their dreams, and glowed beside every fire Prometheus had gifted. And that is what Zeus could never destroy. Prometheus was still chained, still bleeding, but he was still watching. And when he saw what Pandora had released, he saw humanity stumble, cry, rise, and still believe. And that was enough, because in the end, fire gave us light, and hope gave us meaning. Prometheus's body may have been bound, but his gift still burns. Thousands of years later, we still build, we still sing, and we still hope. And we still tell this story of a titan who loved humanity more than Olympus, of a woman who opened the world, and of a box that held both nightmares and a single shining ember. So next time you light a candle, make a wish, dream of something more. Remember the fire, and remember who gave it to you. Prometheus. And that, my friends, was the final tale of Tales of Olympus Season 2. Thank you for joining me through gods, monsters, love stories, revenge plots, and epic chaos. But don't worry, this isn't goodbye. Next week, we begin Season 3. And let's just say, more quests are coming. The monsters are bigger and the gods are even more dramatic. My name is Ariel. I'm 10 years old, and I will see you next episode.